Today, the Below Average Joe's MMA show present the weekend recap. And we are talking everything and anything from UFC Vegas, insert number here. In your main event, Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland had a very close, weird fight to cap off 2022 with, of course, a controversial split decision. I couldn't think of a more poetic way to end 2022 for MMA. We're also talking a lot of fight announcements and then the rest of UFC Vegas, insert number here. So all this and more, and it all starts for the last time in 2022 right now. Welcome back, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us on this Monday edition, recap edition of the show. I'm one half of your hosting duo. My name is Noah Baker. The man to my right, that is Dominic Salee, coming to you from the great state, the Buckeye State of Ohio. Dominic, how are you feeling on this Monday? We just got done with our final UFC event of 2022. Technically, well, I think it's actually technically our last.
There's the
we have the so that's
Bellator Rising thing.
So I believe that due to the time difference, though, it's a New Year's Eve show, but I think we'll be watching it past the New Year. I think.
True, and painfully for us, it's at the same time as the Buckeyes semifinal game.
So, our final MMA event of 2022. Let's just the final one we'll be talking about on this show, unless of course anything crazy comes of the Bellator versus Ryzen event. So, how are you feeling, Dom? Now that we've kind of finished up 2022 as a whole, are you reminiscing about another year down?
Yeah, man, it really is crazy that here we are. I feel like we were just recording Giga Chikadze and Calvin Kattar preview for the first event of the year, and now we're recapping Strickland Cannonier, the final UFC event of 2022, our last numbered episode of 2022. Another year in the books, Noah, and a big year coming in 2023. It's another bittersweet moment, just like Thursday, but it's going to be a good one. We got good fights to talk about, good fight announcements to talk about, and the vibes are just high right now, Noah. Let's keep them going. What do you say?
I completely agree with you there, Dominic, and the vibes are so high that I'm going to give a special shout out. I've never done this before, but I'm going to give a special shout out to our good friends over at PointsBet Sportsbook. They are the official betting partner of the Below Average Joe's MMA show, and they have a great offer that you, the listener, you, the viewer, can take advantage of. Right now, if you sign up with PointsBet Sportsbook, on your initial deposit, they are going to match 100% up to $2,000. This is free money, people. Free money that you get to use for your sports betting needs. There are two ways to make good on this offer. One, go into the link in the description of today's episode. Follow that link, sign up, put in your deposit, it is matched. Second, you can download the PointsBet Sportsbook app. Use code MMA Joes.
No, MMA Joes.
Thank you, but I didn't ask you to say that. You put that in and sign up, and you put in your deposit, and it is matched. So shout out to PointsBet Sportsbook. Please bet responsibly. And with that, Dominic, let's talk about our final fight of 2022 for the UFC. Jared Cannonier ultimately gets the split decision victory over Sean Strickland in your main event. The three judges' scorecards, Dom, all had it 49-46, but two went for Cannonier and one for Sean Strickland. So in a year where it feels like MMA judging is so controversial and has been such a sticking point with a lot of fans, there's been a lot of very heated debates about this topic. We finished the year with a scorecard that's very weird, a 49-46 one way and a 49-46 the other way. But Dominic, why is nobody up in arms about this one?
So I think the difference here is that in this fight, it's easy to say, man, coin flip fight, either guy could have won, and I'm okay with it. The problem in this fight wasn't necessarily who got the win, right? Because, again, we were even in our group chat, right? We're like, oh, I don't know. If Cannonier wins, I'm not surprised. If Strickland wins, I'm not surprised, so on and so forth. The problem was yes, it was 49-46 for a guy and 49-46 for the other, which doesn't make much sense. But when you dig a little deeper, not one round across all three judges' scorecards was won unanimously by one fighter. Not like round 3 was not won by Jared Cannonier on every judge's scorecard. It was so just different the way in which they were organized. So that part is a little annoying, a little frustrating, but I'm not upset at the winner of this. It could have been Cannonier. It could have been Strickland. For the bet slip's sake, could have used Strickland because that would have made it a winning night instead of a losing night. Nothing like sweating down your final bet of the year on the final fight of the year to the judges' scorecards, but that's neither here nor there. It was a good fight, though. You know, judges' scorecards aside, I think it was what we expected in terms of like how each man fought, but a little bit better overall at the end of the day for the finalized product. Excited to get your thoughts now on the scorecards and the fight itself.
Now, I love my co-host Dom. I do. I love him. I love when he speaks his mind, and I tell him all the time I want to see him do it more.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a bit of a pause when Dominic says something that I disagree with, because I don't want to jump down his throat and make him think twice about speaking up the next time. But I'm a little bit shocked that you did not like or had an issue with the judges' scorecards, because the way I viewed this fight, Dom, is not only was it a toss-up, but I think this was an unbelievably hard fight to judge from sitting on my couch, or if you're sitting cage side as one of the 3 appointed judges. The 49-46 for either guy, I could have seen. I think I had it 3-2 for Sean Strickland. You had it 3-2 for Cannonier. I mean, I could have seen this being scored any amount of combinations, 4-1, one way or the other. From the eye test of watching, and even if you look at the stats for this fight, they tell you how close each round of this fight was. There was not a clear round,
No,
in my opinion,
no.
for either man the whole way through.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's the case, you can get scorecards like this, where I believe this was the first time that there was a 4-1 for both fighters on
Right.
the scorecards. Yeah. Which normally would make, that's why I was like, everything that I'm telling you, if you didn't watch this, would go, oh boy, these boys about to flame these judges.
Yeah.
But truthfully, I can't give them any fault here, because I thought this fight was so close. Just every round, it was like, I don't know who to score that for.
Yep.
It was a better version. It was the good version of like Carla Rose.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know?
Yes.
You know,
that's
Carla
a good-
Rose, we were sitting there like, who the fuck do you score these rounds for?
Because
this is the
nothing
good
happened.
version. This is the good version of that. The fight itself, solid. You know, I think Cannonier pushed the action a little bit more than he did against Adesanya, which I appreciated,
Yep.
because in the later rounds especially, I thought he was having more success landing some power shots. He had good success with leg kicks.
Yeah.
You could tell the discrepancy was that Sean Strickland was almost going strictly for the head of Cannonier, while Cannonier was mixing in a lot of body and leg strikes, and then in the later rounds started to open it up and go over the top towards the head himself. But yeah, I have no issue with Cannonier getting the win here, even though I personally scored it for Strickland. And I mean, do you have any rebuttal here, Dom? Because I'm kind of saying like I don't really get the complaint.
Again, like, well, I guess I did say last night too, I'm shocked. Like, it's weird because you can see someone scoring at 4-1, but then in watching it, I feel like, oh, both fighters definitely got 2 rounds apiece, right? They both deserve to win 2 rounds, and then whoever the final one goes to is. But again, my only complaint is not necessarily the 49-46, 4-1. It's just, why is there no, I don't know, maybe it was just so close that there shouldn't be any unanimous rounds given. I mean, I guess if I really do go back and watched it 5 times, or 3 times, let's say, because there's 3 judges, would I score round 5 for Sean Strickland every single time? Would I score round 4 for Strickland every single time? That's what I saw too, like in the community. A lot of people were just saying, how can not one round be won by one person on all Georgia's scorecards, not even on the 2 people that scored Cannonier? So I don't know, man. It's just, it's very fitting. It really is, to end 2022 with a split decision. like this. We started the year with a dominant decision victory by Calvin Kattar, and the scorecards have just gotten more and more murky as the year went on. So I don't know. Maybe my complaints are stemming from me losing that bet at the end of the day,
Well,
potentially. But I don't know, man. It's just weird to explain this fight.
well, let me try to help you here because let me throw you a life preserver because I kind of drowned you and now I'm going to throw you so you can thank
Pull
me
me
for
out.
saving. I'm drowning you and then I'm going to save your life so you can thank me for that.
Yeah.
I think the fight was a lot closer than a 49-46 scorecard indicates.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's really what it boils down to is
That's
this
fair.
fight felt very close. That's what you're getting at where you're saying I felt like even though if you go watch it round by round, it's hard to give one guy or the other the edge, but you felt like at the end both guys won at least 2 rounds because of
Yeah.
how close it was. But
Yeah.
that's just not really how MMA
it
judging
works.
scored, So like I get your sentiment though that it felt closer than a 49-46 and
Yeah.
that's why I think we had a guy comment on I believe it was the clip we did of Paddy Pimblett calling the fight a robbery. And he kind of, I still haven't had him respond back to what I asked him a question, but his comment said something along the lines of, you guys, or you called it a robbery, but then said it was a close fight, like make it make sense or something like that. But when I watched the clip back, I was like, well, neither one of us ever said it was a close fight. We clearly
No.
said that it was a robbery.
Yeah.
But I think what he was getting at was that I said I scored the fight 29-28 for Gordon. So I think he takes the scorecard, well, it's 29-28. One round goes Paddy's way and he wins the fight. But that is not that's a very that's a very black and white painted brush there that you're putting on that. Every scorecard, like there's 30-27s that feel closer than 29-28s. Like that's just the way it goes. That's why every round is scored by itself. Momentum shifts happen in fights.
Yes.
Some guy starts strong and then the other guy finishes way stronger in the next 2
Yep.
rounds. So it's a 29-28, but
Yep.
it was pretty clear for the winner, which is sort of how Jared Gordon and Paddy Pimblett went. All in all, what I'm saying is like, yes, it's a 49-46 scorecard here, but it's by no means, this is one of the closest fights of the year in terms of main events that we've seen.
Yeah. That was very well said, Noah. You are a
Thank you.
very, very smart gentleman.
My response to him was, when did we ever say it was a close fight? And he never said anything back. So I was basically asking, like, I wanted him to say just to make sure that's what he meant. Are you saying it because I scored at 29-28? Well, then I can tell you that it's not really true.
You can have that very decisive 29-28,
Yes,
Yeah, I see
exactly.
what you're saying.
Dominic, what's going to be next for Jared Cannonier here? Because when Paul Felder asked him after the fight, what he wanted to do next. Of course, Alex Pereira is now the middleweight champion. That kind of shook up the division. Cannonier seemed to want. He knew Whitaker's fighting Costa next year, so he kind of just called for either the title shot or just a guy with a number above him. I'm curious if you think that's very realistic for him because he's at number 3, so there's not many people in front of him. And likely you're going to look at Adesanya and Pereira probably rematching at some point next year, I would assume. Whitaker fighting Costa. Where does Cannonier kind of fit into the top of the middleweight division for 2023?
I understand him asking for the title shot because there's a new champion now, but I don't think that's realistic at all. I think they're definitely going to run back Izzy and Pereira. Yes, Izzy was a dominant champion, but then when you add in all the not controversy, the storylines behind them and the history, they're definitely going to run that back a second time. No exact timetable. It won't be on the first 3 pay-per-views of the year, right? We got Brazil, we have Australia, we have London. So April at the earliest, but it'll definitely be later than that if you ask me. So I think I'm kind of here for him facing the winner of Whitaker and Costa. I think that would make sense. I know he's already fought Whitaker, but it'll be a couple years at that point. He came back strong in the 3rd round in that fight. It would warrant that maybe. And then him and Costa would be a very entertaining match should Costa beat Whitaker. And maybe some would say Costa deserves a title fight if he beats Whitaker, but I don't know. Like the win before this, if he beats Rob, was who's Luke Rockhold. So like I don't know. I kind of want to see Costa win another one. So yeah, I think maybe Cannonier versus the winner of that one. Maybe the winner of a fight we're going to talk about here later with Roman Dolidze, Marvin Vettori. It kind of just depends on the timelines. When's Izzy going to fight Alex again? That's kind of where I'm leaning. I lean stronger toward winner of Whitaker and Costa.
Yeah, he's kind of in an awkward spot, isn't he? I mean, when does
Yeah.
Whitaker and Costa fight?
That's in February in Australia, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we wouldn't expect to see Cannonier back till at least like early April, late March. You know, maybe even longer than that. Obviously,
Yeah.
he's 38 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, I actually kind of like the idea of him fighting Costa, win or lose for Costa.
Win or lose
I mean,
Costa. Yeah.
you know, Whitaker, I think with a win would be really waiting on, you know, what happens with Adesanya Pereira, because if Pereira wins a second time, all of a sudden Bobby Knuckles back
they
in
put
that
him back in
titles,
there.
back
Yeah.
in the title shot. Which talk about that's a side point. What a crazy fight that would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Cannonier's in an awkward spot. I'm not completely confident that he gets what he's asking for. I could see him having to fight backwards, but another fight we're going to talk about later, I think, or did I not put it? Oh yeah, I did put it on here. Like Andre Muniz and Brendan Allen. Like I thought if Muniz won that fight, I feel like you could have argued him getting that kind of shot, but that's going to happen in February. Like, can he turn around? You know, I don't know. So middleweight's kind of in a weird spot as a whole. Got shooken up for sure, but I don't know. I think there's options for sure, but he may just have to wait a little longer than he wants to get it done. Because he even said himself, sooner rather than later after the fight. He's not getting any younger, you know.
Yeah, it's a rock and a hard place situation.
Yeah. With that, Dom, we're going to move in actually to our fight announcement portion of the show. It's been a while since we've gotten to do this. We moved our fight announcements to be on our recaps on Mondays, and you know, for the last couple of weeks, I feel like we haven't really gotten to talk about it.
Yeah.
But as we do, I'm just going to kind of go through the list, tell you what the fight is, you know, who's in it, when it's going to happen, and if it's on a pay-per-view or not. And you could just give me kind of a snapshot of your thoughts into what fights stick out to you. So we start with February 4th. They're running it back. The highly anticipated 5-round main event between Derrick Lewis and Serghei Spivac.
Yeah.
Andre Muniz fighting Brendan Allen, February 25th. Cody Garbrandt makes his return against Julio Arce, March 4th. That's UFC 285.
Yeah.
And then March 18th, UFC 286. This is the one in London.
Shit.
Roman Dolidze, Marvin Vettori. And finally, a week later, March 25th, Dominic kindly put UFC San Antonio on here because that was what it was announced as. Holly Holm taking on Yana Kunitskaya, the former women's featherweight title challenger. So, Dominic, what kind of sticks out to you about this list, good or bad?
First thing, I said, oh shit, when you were talking, because I didn't realize there are two pay-per-views in the month of March, 2 weeks apart from one another. My favorite fight on there, as much as I love Brendan Allen and Andre Muniz, I think that's a sick fight. My favorite one's Dolidze Vettori. It has to be Dolidze making this march into the top 10. You know, we saw him fight 2 times in a month, basically, when he beat Phil Hawes, then turns around a couple weeks later, jumps in against number 8 Jack Hermanson and submits him with an STFU John Cena style in the octagon. And now he's getting Marvin Vettori. I mean, that's a very fascinating fight, a very big fight for potential title challengers toward the later end of 2023. That's my favorite fight on this list for this weekend. Noah, what do you got for me?
I'm just going to make a plead.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to plead. Because when I saw they made Derrick Lewis, Serghei Spivac, they made it again. Like, as if it wasn't a sign enough the first time they made this a main event. That fight falls apart during the show.
Yeah.
I mean, on record now, there is a UFC event that is headlined by Kennedy Nzechukwu and
Jan Kudalaba.
Jan Kudalaba. I mean, Kennedy Nzechukwu, fine fighter, but Dominic did call him like, yeah,
I
he
mixed him with
mixed
three
up
other
him.
fighters.
Yeah, there was like 3 fighters that Dominic basically rearranges their letters of their name together. So if that can happen, then maybe you shouldn't be in a main event. If Dom's doing that to your name, you probably shouldn't be in a main event. But the UFC were so stern on making this a main event, they rebooked it February 4th. So, Dom, when you sent me the fight last night that you did for UFC San Antonio, Holly Holm versus Yana Kunitskaya, my first thought was they are definitely going to make this a main event, and I am going to be so pissed when they do. Because, look, Holly Holm's great. She's an icon, one of the best wins ever against Ronda Rousey. Let's stop putting her in main events. Just stop. It's not because she's not talented, not good, can't be fun, whatever. But she just doesn't have any sort of momentum at this point. She's a name, but I mean, what's that really? It's not necessarily. I don't feel like she's driving eyeballs to the screen anymore. So. And then she's going up against Yana Kunitskaya. Like, who the fuck cares? I mean, let's be honest. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
No
Fingers
disrespect. No disrespect to either lady. I feel like that, yes, what I said was disrespectful. But since I said no disrespect, you just have to kind of,
You cleared your name. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything? Well, I'm curious your thoughts, Dom, because you're the guy that's always positive about everything. So Holly Holm, Yana Kunitskaya, 5-round main event. Are you jumping for joy at that?
No, we don't need that, guys, as a main event. I'm just glad we got Holly Holm to commit to a weight class potentially here in this one. It is supposed to be at 135. We'll see if it holds true that way. I'm trying to think of other Texas-based fighters. I know Mr. Adrian Yanez wants to get on that card. I don't know if he can quite get into a main event slot yet. I know he's trying to crack into the bantamweight top 15, but I'm trying to think. Just you would think they are going to try and put some sort of Texas fighter on that card. I know Ryan Spann has a fight scheduled. He's from Texas. Maybe you get him. I know he has a main event slot sometime in 2023.
Yeah, it's before. It's not that same card.
Before that one.
Yeah, he's scheduled to fight. I'm gonna forget his name. The guy I called boring, but turned out he had never had a boring fight, but the one that I vividly remembered. So
right. So I don't know. Maybe if you rearrange now that the Anthony Smith fight fell out, maybe throw this one on the headline UFC San Antonio. I don't know. But that Holly Holm and Yana Kunitskaya, I don't care for the fight. Do what you will. They need to do whatever in that division.
Right.
That division needs a lot of work, but just don't make it a main event. That's all. What do we ask for, Noah, for main events?
Please.
We want storylines. We want momentum. We want things on both sides.
I want to learn something about somebody. Like the 5 rounds is like a step up, right? It's like you are moving into it's not necessarily have to be like you win this, you get a title fight. But, we've had a lot of main events in 2022 on both ends of the spectrum where it was like on one end where it was like, who the fuck cares about this fight? Like, why is this a main event? Like, there was a lot of times in 2022 where I was like scratching my head at the matchmaking. Like, why is this the main event? Is they really couldn't get anybody else to sign on the dotted line for that week?
Right? That's one. Right.
Oh, there's plenty. I mean, Holly Holm had one with what's her name?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
This should tell you why.
Yeah, who she was. Oh God, that's not good.
I thought she had like a main event get canceled. Even I don't know, man.
Ketlin Vieira.
Oh yeah.
Like fights like that. Like okay, that fight might have mattered to that division, but also like who cares? But they also did a good job of making certain fights main events that I felt like in years past would have been buried on the main card or prelims. Tsarukyan, Garbrandt, prime example.
A. Yep.
And I mean, there's a few other examples. They're not exactly jumping off the page to me right now, but I think there's been like hit or miss on these main events for fight nights. You've had a fair share. I thought Chikadze Cater was a good choice for a main event. Stuff where you get to learn something about someone. Giga Chikadze had been beating the fuck out of everybody, and then you put him in a 5-round fight against a guy whose stock is low and Cater, all of a sudden Cater looks like a fucking superstar. So
Marlon Vera main evented. Look what he is now.
Marlon Vera, was that Dominic
Against
Cruz
in San Diego.
That was a great main event.
Yeah.
San Diego.
Which, of course, in German means a whale's vagina.
But needless to say, let's stop with bad main events in 2023. I'm putting my foot down, Dom.
And I'm here for it.
I'm telling you, I'm making a pledge, a promise to the viewers right now.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
In 2023, if there is a main event that I declare to be the UFC phoning it in and just throwing shit on a card, then I will watch the whole card, but I will turn off before the main event.
And then I just recap it myself. Noah goes, all right, and here's the main event. And then I just go.
So I will
watch it live.
Yes. There.
Watch it later after the fact.
But I will watch the entire card up into past the co-main, and then I will turn off the main event. I want them to see when they're looking at the numbers and they're like, oh, we lost a guy going into the main event. I want them to know that was me. So Derrick Lewis, Serghei Spivac, February 4th. I ain't watching that main event, baby. I got other things to do. But I'm going to watch the rest of the card. So, I mean, who's really the sucker? But that's my pledge to the audience. I'm a man of the people. Hashtag thank you, Noah. And, let me also just mention Cody Garbrandt for a second because he's back at bantamweight. Julio Arce. This is kind of his last chance. I mean, this is really it for him. He's giving. I don't see how if he gets finished here or beat, like how you really keep this thing going. And I don't want to even use those kind of words because I really do like Cody. We've had the pleasure of meeting him like twice. Yep. And he's been a really good guy both times. He's a former champion. He's an Ohio guy. So, Of course, me and Dom have a lot of love for the guy. But I'm just, we have to speak honestly. Even if we have our biases, Dom, we keep it real. We can't speak for everybody out in the MMA scene, but we're one of those that do. So, is that kind of how you're feeling? Like this is his real last chance to cling on to relevancy, maybe?
I think relevancy and, dare I say, take it a step further, UFC career?
Just career in general, probably, because I don't know if he's a guy that goes to the PFL.
Right?
He might be. I don't know. He might be. I don't know. I'd be interested to see it, but
imagine Cody in the Bellator bantamweight division right now.
Yeah.
How does it go? I don't know. I don't know, man, but it feels that way. I think it's a very important fight for his relevancy, as Noah said, his UFC career, his career in general. And Julio Arce is going to be a guy that are like, oh, Cody should. I don't know. Maybe people don't even say this about Cody fighting Julio Arce, but I would imagine some people say, oh, Cody should win this easily. Nope. I wouldn't necessarily say that, people.
My guess for the odds is Cody will be a favorite, but it won't be as much of a favorite. Like he'll be under a -200. It'll be like minus 160, minus 150.
Yep. I agree.
Maybe less than that. I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah. Let's move on to the rest, Dom, of UFC Vegas. Insert number here. Your co-main event, dare I say, the people's main event. Although that might actually, you could probably say that for multiple fights on this card because there's another fight we're going to talk about. But Arman Tsarukyan gets back on track. He gets a unanimous decision win over Damir Ismagulov. My big takeaway from this fight, Dom, was how high level this was. I mean, this felt like the most high level fight of the night. Strickland Cannonier was for sure high level striking. But in this one, man, you really saw the chess match playing out before your eyes. Arman, great grappling, great wrestling, and he was looking to utilize that against a very natural striker in Ismagulov. And Damir showing great takedown defense for a while, not allowing himself to go down easy. And obviously Arman ended up winning out that battle. He ends up sweeping the cards, I believe, 30-27 across the board. didn't come easy, but ultimately I think he just showed how good he really is. Ismagulov's very good as well, but Arman, we thought he probably should have won against Garbrandt, and now he wins here against Ismagulov. I think this guy really needs a name as his next opponent. He's done the deed of taking on guys like Ismagulov, Garbrandt, these guys that nobody wants to fight, who don't have the credibility or name attached to them. Now give him a chance against one of these guys that's been sitting at the top for a while. Dare I say a Justin Gaethje or someone like that. I mean, give me that fight all day.
Yeah, I mean, it was high level. We shouldn't have expected anything other than that. People knew what we were going to get from this type of fight. Arman Tsarukyan just showed that he's still just a level above Damir. Like, Damir's very good, don't get me wrong, and he's right in his prime. He had won 19 straight fights. But Arman's, 26, 27, and just the kid is an absolute borderline phenom. I don't say that word very much, but he's a future champion. I'm saying it right now, setting it in stone. Maybe I've said it before, but I'm definitely saying it here today. The final numbered episode of the year might as well go out big. Arman Tsarukyan is going to be a lightweight champion one day. Dare I say, not necessarily too much longer. The idea of him and Islam running it back, in 2024 or late 2023 or whatever the case, sounds so very exciting to me. When Arman made his debut against Islam a few years ago, the dude's a stud. The dude has weapons everywhere the fight goes, and that's what makes me so intrigued to watch this guy fight. You have to put him in here, right, with one of these veterans. I don't want him to see Fiziev because he deserves to fight other people ahead of them as well. So guys like, you're going to hate me for this, but guys like Dariush, guys like Poirier, guys like Gaethje. What Arman even said this in fight week. These guys just keep fighting each other and they don't give up their spots. The UFC can't keep doing that forever. Guys like Arman, guys like Rafael Fiziev are going to make their way in. It's a matter of time. And dare I say, it's in both of their next fights. They have to get in there.
Dude, it is so sad how bad you want Dariush to get beaten. Like,
and
you want him to lose. You want him to lose so bad. You're like, yeah, you can give Dariush a title fight. Just make sure he fights everybody 10 through 1 every week. And if he gets through them, then maybe you get him a title shot. I mean, it's just pathetic how much Dom wants my boy Benny D to lose. No, but in all seriousness, Dom, one of the best knockouts of the night belongs to Little Blue.
Little Blue.
Did I just have a stroke? I think I just had a stroke.
Replay.
Belongs to Little Blue. Bruce Leroy.
Oh, that was funny shit. Right
he knocks out Julian Arce with a head kick and a follow-up ground and pound shots about 3 minutes into the first round. Who would have thought he'd have one of the knockouts of the night, right? Bruce Leroy, not necessarily known for his power, but this was all timing. He landed that head kick right at the end of the exchange. Arce was done, basically, but a few follow-up shots. I mean, Arce was face-planting. He was out. He was out bad.
Yeah, it was a sick knockout by Bruce. The fuck, dude? Oh, boy.
It's a play to replay.
Yeah, it was a sick knockout by Bruce. The 2 replays. He looked amazing. And the fact that the combo, right, he threw the left hand and Julian evaded, but then brings the left high kick right behind it. Oh, my goodness gracious. That was nasty. He's won 5 out of 6. The only loss was to my man, Sadiq Youssef. Give Alex Caceres his shot at the top 15 again. Give him Edson Barboza. Boom!
Ooh,
that's the fight to make. Bruce Leroy. There we go. I said it right. Man, what a career. It was his 27th UFC fight last night. No, isn't that just what a career, man, crazy for this guy. And he's getting his best performances now after so many fights. It goes to show that people just hit their primes at different spots in this sport, and this is a perfect example.
You've seen it a few times, even in more high-profile examples like Charles Oliveira, Jan Blachowicz, Renato Moicano, like these guys that or Jorge Masvidal even. I mean, you could say that. Like, you see it where these guys who have their struggles early in their career. Maybe you could even say that about Dustin Poirier. I don't know if he would quite fit in there, but
Max even.
Max for sure. Like these guys who come in and maybe they're just too young, inexperienced, raw, whatever it is, but the UFC believe in them enough to kind of develop them, you know, give them big fights, give them fights in the UFC, continue to develop them. And then once they get a little older, get some fight years under their belt, all of a sudden these guys are fighting like champions. So, you know, there's some not pretty looking results that can come from that. You know, Bruce Leroy had his record's not the prettiest to look at by any means, but that's a guy that's really been in every fight he's ever been put in the UFC. I mean, win or lose, I mentioned this on the preview. He was in a main event against Yair Rodriguez back in 2016, and that was a pretty close fight.
Yeah.
You know, Yair was looked at as like the golden boy, the next coming for that Mexican market, and Alex Caceres was supposed to be like fed to the wolves there, and instead he made that a very close fight. So I like what I see from Caceres. I agree with you. Give that man top 15. I'm surprised Dominic didn't want him to fight Beneil Dariush next. Like just
go up a weight class.
Just make Beneil cut 10 more pounds to 145 or something. I mean, my God, the hate doesn't stop with Dom over there. Post production, Dom, can I get a clip insert of Dom? His what? One more time.
What?
All right, thank you. Next fight. The reason I had to say it was one of the best knockouts of the night for Alex Caceres is because I think the knockout of the night might be given to one Drew Dober. What a chin that man has, both literally and figuratively, because he knocks out Bobby Green in round 2, but it didn't come easy. Bobby Green looked fantastic for
his boxing
most of this fight. Yeah, it's very pretty to watch. It's very like he gets into such a flow state. And, it's fun to watch. But Drew Dober is just about it. and he realized, I think, after the first round that if he was gonna have a chance to win this fight, he had to accept he was gonna have to eat a shot to give a shot.
And throw bombs back.
And that's what he did, and he becomes the second man to knock out Bobby Green. That ties him for lightweight knockouts with Dustin Poirier, who is the other guy to knock out Bobby Green. And he called out the tarantula, Jalen Turner.
I mean,
he said, I want those problems. I'm a Drew Dober guy. I'm not so sure that he really wants those problems. I don't know.
Jalen Turner is a fucking beast.
Dom, I'm just imagining the fucking size discrepancy. Drew Dober is not a tall guy for lightweight.
Yeah.
And he wants Jalen Turner, who's 6'3".
Yeah.
I mean, part of me was like screaming, like, no, Drew, don't do this. Like, I'm such a Drew Dober guy. But I also was like, that fight is kind of awesome and I want to see it. So respect to Drew Dober. It shows how talent stacked this lightweight division is. One of our buddies even made this. He acknowledged this, that like a guy like Drew Dober or Bobby Green not being in the top 15 at lightweight just speaks to the level of talent that's in that division. Like if he was a middleweight, he's a top 10 fighter, you know?
Yeah. Any other weight class.
Right. I mean, almost. And I guess, Dom, for you, your thoughts, what a great knockout kind of cap off. What a great year for Drew Dober.
Yeah, he had 3 wins this year, 3 knockouts, if I'm not mistaken. Dude's a stud.
Well, I kind of forgot about that Rafael Alves fight, how fun that one was. Alves doing the fucking like robot and shit in the cage. That was a crazy one.
And you already mentioned him and Terrence McKinney, the craziest 3 minutes you'll ever see, even outside of the bedroom. And I don't know, man. I just feel like Drew Dober he deserves top 15 as well, just like Alex Caceres does. Jalen Turner, though, oof. I mean, I respect the kahunas on him to call him out. I don't know, though. I mean, maybe him and, like, Dan Hooker would be kind of fun, right? Or him and Hanato Moicano. Then no, it would be fucked. No one would know what to do.
So fucked.
If those two fought each other. But, this was sick, man. He's had 6 consecutive, not in a row, but 6, all of his last 6 wins have been by knockout. And I said on Thursday, Bobby Green don't get knocked out. Drew Dober don't get knocked out. And then someone got knocked out. But Bobby Green's such an OG too. The way that he's so humble in defeat and was just having fun with it. Like he kept going, golly, man, you got me and stuff like that. How do you not just love both of those fighters? You just can't.
I rewatched after the fight the clip you made talking about that fight, and your analysis of it was aged very well.
Yes,
I think even someone commented that was very funny. Like everything you said is basically what happened, and how about? I mean, what I understand kind of the feelings about this individual right now, but I mean, if Tony Ferguson's going to remain in the top 15?
Oh no!
I mean, is that really that mean?
You're getting mad at me for saying Dariush versus Arman, and you're wanting to put Tony in there with Drew. Drew Dober might knock Tony's head, and we don't want to see Tony get viciously knocked out. Noah,
I know. I take it back. All right, I take it back.
But you know what we said Thursday? Once it's out on the pod, it can't go back.
I know that's true. We put that. I said it already.
Try. Just keep going.
All I'm saying is, whenever Tony graduates from Harvard, he takes some time.
True.
Like, I understand we don't want to see him get knocked out again, and Drew Dober carries some big time power, but Tony's still. I mean, I can't say anything. I think I'm just gonna stop. I can't say anything. Look, I think I'll admit it. I think I said it because I thought it was a more winnable fight than Jalen Turner or Renato Moicano. All right, there. I said it.
All right.
You know what? Fine. I'll compromise with you, Dan Hooker.
I think seriously, that's pretty cool fight too. That'd be a banger.
That's another size. That's another big size discrepancy too.
True. Yeah, dude. Maybe one day we just get Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner. That would be fun.
That is crazy. Yeah, that's a crazy fight. Actually, let's do that one.
Wait,
and then we'll do Drew Dober. And then we'll do Drew Dober, Tony Ferguson.
Anyways,
next fight here. A battle of two very underrated fighters in this division. Said Nurmagomedov ends up getting the submission win over Serghei Kakramanov. That name's a mouthful.
You did it so well, though. Nice.
I feel like there's some what's a term for someone who knows speech, like linguist? Is that a title of someone?
Maybe.
Am I forgetting letters in there? A linguist?
A linguist?
Isn't that someone who analyzes language or speech?
Probably.
It's a linguist. I don't.
A speechist.
Okay. A linguist.
Linguist. Look it up.
A linguist.
A linguist.
The more I say it, the less I think that's a real thing.
It's all about the confidence.
I feel like every time you give me props for my pronunciation of a word, I have a feeling that there's just somebody from that country watching this, just throwing their laptop against the wall. Yeah. But we got a pretty good fight here, Dom. Another one that kind of saw a comeback. Said Nurmagomedov. Obviously he carries that Nurmagomedov last name, so he's the one of no relation, though, correct? Isn't he the one?
Yeah, they said last night, no relation, but close family friend, so it all works out.
So he's basically part of the family. But having that Nurmagomedov name obviously gives you some credibility. Serghei Kakramanov, I feel like, has had a tough draw in the UFC. He is a really good fighter, but he has found himself on the reverse end or on the bad end of multiple big comebacks, and he's went up against guys where they've had a performance that's defined their career or something, like a big comeback or whatever. So he's gotten a tough draw, but that doesn't stop here because he looked really good early here, and then Said Nurmagomedov comes back and gets the submission. Yeah. This was pretty early in the card, but I think this was a very high level fight, one of the highest level ones on the whole card. Any thoughts on that one?
It's just what do you do now with a guy like Said? And I just wanted to say this because I didn't realize until yesterday that he was number 15 in the division. We have two Nurmagomedovs in one top 15 list in one division. That's a scary sight to see for the rest of the bantamweights. But I don't know, man. I mean, all kinds of fun matchups. Him and Jack Shore, him and Gutierrez, him and, dare I say, Umar. Nurmagomedov versus Nurmagomedov, main event. That'd be a wild, crazy.
A little
I mean,
Nurmagomedov on Nurmagomedov action.
I'm just the list. There's no bad matchups in the bantamweight division, so you do whatever you want with Saeed. Just don't have him fight out of the rankings. Have him fight someone in the rankings. That's all I ask.
Well said. And I know I didn't have it on here, but I did want to just open up a chance for you to kind of give any shout outs to anybody else on the card that might have had a performance that stuck out to you.
Oh gosh, you put me on the spot. I'm trying to.
Well,
think here.
I'll throw a name out here because I feel like we both would have if it was on here. I probably should have put it on here. Manel Cape or Cop. He had a big bounce back. I also mentioned Amir Albazi. I didn't put them on here because, like, for Amir, I do think his potential is through the roof right now. But considering the opponent was short notice and debuting. But Amir Albazi, get that man a car. First off, he didn't get a performance of the night bonus, which is bullshit. But they better fucking give that man a car. Yeah. Get him a nice one. Dana, give you the keys to your fucking Tesla or whatever the hell you drive around. But then Manel Cop, I mean, this guy keeps every fight better and better.
Yes.
He had a really tough start to that career, but I think we're kind of past that. And with this win, I mean, he nearly took what's his name, shoulder out of his socket here.
David's
I know that David Dvorak, and I know Dom. I felt for him because he had a prop for Manel to finish this fight and of course he did not do that. And I mean, that was a nasty submission. I don't know how David fought through it and then continued to fight the rest of the way, but I wanted to give a shout out to the two flyweights. You know, we're big flyweight advocates on this show, so I figured I'd mention them. Anything you want to add to that?
No, if I'm giving any other shout outs, it's probably that one. Maybe a shout out to Rafa Garcia. The dude had an artery sliced in his head, and then he still won the fight. Oh my God. It was an absolute bloodbath in there. But he legitimately did win that fight. 5'7" versus like 6 foot tall, huge height discrepancy, reach disadvantage. It didn't matter. He had that dog in him, and he got the win. I think it was a pretty solid card to end the year, Noah. I'll say that.
Yeah, I didn't love the prelims. That fight was one of the better ones, Rafa Garcia, Maheshate. But a lot of the prelims weren't great. I think there was one finish on the whole prelims. But I thought the main card brought it back, and really that's...
Yeah, the night went on.
That's kind of what you hope for anyways. You know, you had the reverse last week with 282 where the prelims were bangers.
Yes.
And then the main card started out okay, and then you get to the co-main and main event, and all of a sudden it all goes downhill. And it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So, which one do you want, right? Would you rather have like a terrible lead up to the co-main and main, or would you, I don't know. But, Rafa Garcia, by the way, I guess they said he lost 20% of his blood.
That is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
This sport is not for the light at heart. Put it that way.
No, it was one of the bloodier fights I've seen in a long time.
Oh, it was just like a faucet. It was great.
The reason they never stopped it had to be because of the placement. It was on the side of the head, so it doesn't get into the eyes or anything. But I was definitely kind of surprised that they never stopped it to check it, because I mean that thing, as soon as it got hit, you could see it start like gushing out.
And what makes me wonder, Noah, is like after last night, now that we find out hindsight that he had an artery cut. You got to think maybe next year they look out for cuts like that on the side of the head. I mean, had they known he had an artery cut, he probably doesn't continue that fight, right? I wouldn't think.
Well, I wonder if a ringside physician could even tell that by.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not a medical expert. I'm not sure if like a guy could just come in, look at barely able to see and stuff, and just go, you've cut an artery. I don't know. I don't know how much is known about that. But with that, Dom, let's move into the below average bet slip. Dominic, of course, has been carrying the torch for us as a show.
It's been great.
While I am on suspension from betting MMA. We did have an opportunity this week for me to cash my ticket back into the below average bet slip. But unfortunately, it was all for naught. I only went 1 of 3. I mean, How poetic when the pressure's on, the bright lights down on me. It's my opportunity to get back in, to save Dom from this torture and make us a tandem again on the bet slip going into 2023. And I go 1 of 3. My 3 were Garcia Maheshate inside the distance, which kind of hurts in hindsight considering that man lost 20% of his blood, but fought through it and got a win. Also, Caceres Arosa inside the distance. I felt good about that one. It obviously ended 3 minutes into the first round, so that was pretty easy.
That's an impressive hit, I think. Actually, I like that.
The first 2 were plus money, so I was, they not big plus money. I think Caceres Arosa was around like plus 110, and Garcia Maheshate was like plus 130 or plus 120 or something like that. And then Sean Strickland money line, that was essentially a pick 'em.
Yeah.
But obviously he lost that fight, so I went 1 of 3. But I don't feel too bad about those. Like I feel like they wouldn't have won, but Sean Strickland could have easily been a win, and Garcia Maheshate, like whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
can't win them all, but because of that, Dom, we were back to 0, and now I have to climb back up 2 weeks in a row, getting my 3 ghost bets correct. I'm going to keep reminding the audience in case we have new people coming in of why I'm suspended and whatnot. But Dominic, this is your below average bet slip. I'm going to keep honing in on this is your.
Yeah.
None of these are mine. So all those red X's, those are Dom's.
Thanks, Noah. Man, shit. But the worst thing is that I've had a solid year, first year of MMA betting, and it's been solid. But 3 weeks in a row without Noah, and you would think I'm just piss poor because it's been 3 straight weeks of losing. It's all been like 1.6 units or less, so it's not like I'm losing big, but it just sucks to continue that negative streak. At least it's our last time showing the 2022 standing. We get to start from scratch. We get a nice little 4-week break to refresh, and it's going to be fun, man. For this card specifically, I can't really complain about any of them. I mean, Manel Kopp almost ripped off David Dvorak's arm in the first round, almost knocked him out in the second round. What are you going to do, man? I mean, that was my biggest stab in terms of plus money. It almost hit. Sean Strickland, the way it went down, it was a coin flip fight in terms of the winner. Julian Erosa, I was a bit surprised because even before the knockout, it really just felt like Caceres was taking control. I know it only was a few minutes long, but he just looked really good, and Erosa didn't look as good as I thought. And then for the parlay, I missed Jake Matthews. He literally had a performance of the year candidate a couple months ago against Andre Fialho, but Matthew Simmelsberger is just a fucking dog, and I should have known better that it was going to be scrappy. I should have known that Matthews was way too big of a favorite, being at minus 305 he was. But you live and learn. We went 4-4. Not too many negative units. No, we'll come back strong at the start of 2023, and I hope I get you back sooner rather than later, my friend.
Yeah, don't say we.
I will try and do good for the first couple weeks, and then hopefully week 3.
He said we went 4-4. Hell no, you went 4-4. But Dominic does make a good point. It's so easy for me now that I have removed myself from the bet slip to just be like, wow, look how bad he's doing. He needs me. But guys, that minus 17.7 for the year, there's a reason I got suspended from betting MMA. Most of that number belongs to yours truly. So Dominic had been carrying us basically the whole year, almost like a current day LeBron. Like at your age, Dom, there's a point where you just can't carry anymore. Right, it's just too much weight. You just can't carry it anymore. So,
yeah.
With that, Dominic, there's only one way we end the show around here. That's what the little segment we like to call closing statements. It's the point of the show where me and Dominic talk about anything and everything, MMA related or not. So, Dominic, any closing statements for this Monday edition?
Nothing too crazy. Just a quick little for those of our listeners, viewers that play fantasy football. Yeah, good luck. Good luck to you all if you're in the playoffs. Things are not looking good for me as we record this on Sunday. When you're hearing it tomorrow, I probably have already lost. But just good luck to all you out there. And Noah, I believe, wants to wish me luck as we finish off the show here today, too.
Yeah, I hope Dom gets beat by 50. I've already talked about it on this show. We won't rehab. I mean, I think me and Dom buried that hatchet. I think.
Yeah, Noah
I don't know.
totally let it go.
We've had to bury betting hatchets and stuff before. I mean, Dominic has actively cheered for my bets to lose before. I mean,
On accident.
what a piece of shit. But but I mean, the man robbed me and my family blind in a fantasy league. My fraternity brothers. I mean, everybody who trusts me to make a fair and just league. Dominic ripped them all off like a bandit in the night.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the short end of that story. If you want to go back, there's a previous
Go
closing
find it.
statements where we elaborated a little more. But Dominic, I do wish you good luck, but I do hope you lose by 50.
I love that.
I'm Noah Baker. That's Dominic Salee. We are but just two of the below average Joes, and for the last time in 2022, we're out.